Omelette again. I'm Christopher.
I'm Angela.
And that's my lovely wife, Angela. We're the Dinosaur Omelette, a small hatchery here in southern Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, where we specialize in
The jumbo, wild, or farrow.
Coturnix quail. Hold on, I'm using an iPhone, so let me move this thing back a little bit. And we're in a picture. There you go. Hey guys, so tonight we're going to be discussing a topic I went over last year. Did we do this last year?
So.
That we did on Facebook. And it was talking about processing, anyway, the psychology, the emotional issue that a lot of people have when considering going to a meat program, taking the birds or the animals, or it doesn't matter, rabbits, it doesn't matter, any animal, and having to dispatch it. That's quite a difficult challenge for a lot of people. We hear it frequently enough. Oh, I'm just going to pay somebody to do it, or whatever. Which is fine, we're not judging you if you decide not to do that. This is video for somebody who's, sitting on the fence. They're like, hey, I'd like to do that, but I feel really bad. I don't they're hesitant, there's other issues going on, but they still want to approach that challenge and overcome it, which is super. That's fine, and it's perfectly natural to not want to dispatch one of these critters. I eat hamburgers. There's no way I'm ever going to ice a cow, So that's just that's what's called a dissonance. Like it's an incongruency. And we have that quite often with a lot of subjects. Mm-hmm. A belief versus a practice. We have a belief. I don't want to hurt a creature. Yet we have a practice. I eat creatures. Mm-hmm. So they're incongruent. So there's a little bit of a dissonance there. You're not actually dispatching them, but still there's a bit of a conflict, and there's realms of what do you call it? There's a spectrum within those realms of conflict. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I talk a lot, and I talk like a nerd because I don't know. I'm a nerd, so that's just how I talk. Would you like to give any feedback about the animal dispatching? She does not do any of the quail when it comes to meat day.
No,
I'm given the task.
I focus on the reproducing them, the planning, and hatching and growing. I focus on them while they're alive, and then he does that part.
Yeah.
So yeah.
If you guys have any questions, by the way, pop them down in the bottom. Any comments or anything, and if you are new here, hit the old likey button or the subscribe button. We do a lot of live because I guess we enjoy it because it's more conversational. I'm not working off of some loony script and doing kind of fake stuff. I like going off the cuff, off the fly, and answering you guys and talking to you directly, because we deal with people all the time. So it's a lot easier to talk to you like you're humans, which you are, rather than talking to a screen to no audience. So we enjoy talking to you guys. If you have any questions about anything, drop them in the bottom. I guess we shall begin. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, let me add. I said that I don't do any of the processing, and I would say for me personally,
I do. Sorry.
It's not that I don't think I couldn't do it. For me, it's the exchange of workload. It's just I guess how we have things agreed. Yeah. So he does that part because if you're doing a lot of animals, of any animal at one time, it takes time to do. So
right. Okay. So before I get into these tips, I always do an outline of ideas. I do some research on this stuff and go over what could best help you guys. But before I even get into these subject, talking about the dispatching of the critter. All right, it's something that you who are viewing this are considering doing. It's been something you want to do, but again, you're apprehensive, a little hesitant, you feel bad. Okay, that is the personal, subjective position about this whole process, and that's really, I can't tell you anything about that because you know yourself. You know what cognitively and even subconsciously when you think about it, what that motivator to inaction is. We have motivators to action, and then we have motivators to inaction, not doing anything. And most of the time it's anxieties and fears. Mm-hmm. I don't want to get into the whole psychobabble about it. I'm just saying that whatever is particular to you is to you. The reason why you might be hesitant. Some reasons, which are fairly common, is You know, especially with kids, childhood issues, you know, growing up, maybe you saw abuse to animals, maybe there's an actual trauma like that, or, you know, you lived on a farm and it was just emotionally overwhelming at the time. So those are considered traumas, and people carry them with them, and they manifest as we get older, such as, I don't want to kill my quails, because I dealt with that when I was a kid, and maybe not done with it. But I'm not, again, I don't get into the psych stuff with that. Maybe animals have been, for a lot of people, companions and comfort, you know, so they don't want to approach injuring something that brought them peace and comfort. All right. But again, these positions, and I'm not judging, but analytically, there's going to be, again, a incongruency or a dissonance, because we're always, you know, we wear leather, we eat meat, we wash our hands. I always like to say, we wash our hands and we kill millions of bacteria who never even had a chance. But we don't humanize them or think of them that way. So, you know, all I'm getting at is figure out what it is that is your hesitancy, what your motivation to be hesitant is, and examine that. And that'll give you a little bit of a better, I guess, foundation to understand how to structure your training to be able to overcome that.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I think, too, is just the fact that, you know, it's a living creature, and it's moving, and it, you know, it has eyes, and just all of that.
And because we're normal, we humanize stuff.
Yeah.
And we have empathy.
Right. And, you know, even with that, the fact that it's something that's alive, there are different things that you can do to prepare you mentally with, oh, hey.
Oh, it's Susan. Hi, Susan.
Yeah. With the process. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Okay, so I'm going to go over some of the things that some I've employed. Like, I don't like hurting any of these animals. I don't like to kill any of these animals, but I have to because they become part of the meat program. So, I mean, and if you do enjoy doing something like that, there might be something wrong on that end.
And just to point out, the whole process is meant to be quick, efficient, and, you know, not
humane.
Yeah, humane, without suffering. Yeah.
Speaking of which, down in the description of this video, I put a link to another video, which is me taking care of a quail, to show you how I do that. And it's not horrible. I mean, it's not graphic or anything like that, but I do dispatch one of the quails.
It's very educational.
Yeah, it's educational to walk you through that. And actually getting into that's an excellent thing. So building up to the point where you're going to be dispatching your own animals. You've never done it before. You don't feel comfortable doing it. You feel bad about doing it. So that's something. Education and understanding and hands-on stuff in learning. So as far as education goes, learning about, because again, these are psychological apparatuses we're dealing with, emotional apparatus that are prohibiting us from accomplishing our goals. Okay? A rock could fall on the quail. The rock doesn't care. But the human has emotional inputs and valuations to their decisions. So we need to examine them. So with education, you become cognizant and more aware, right, of what this creature is. It's just not at this point, oh, for the longest time they were my pet. But now I understand because I've been educating myself. They have a life cycle. They're susceptible to injury and death just living. They have a purpose in nature. You know, they are prey animals. You know, that's why prey animals breed so much, because that is part of their purpose, to get eaten out in the wild. They're bred for sustenance. And, you know, the more you learn about this, the more you become aware, right? You have a logical pathway and standing about what you're doing. It's no longer, you're no longer focused on your emotional, you know, the psychological thing that you've had the whole time. Now you have more information to dilute those other thoughts with. And again, I'm not trying to convince anybody to do anything. This is for you guys who are approaching this, who want to do this. Okay, it's a challenge. You know, good for you. You're facing another challenge.
Yeah.
So understanding about the quail, the humane processing, you know, the living conditions of the animal, all this stuff is very important. As far as education and understanding goes, to help you overcome that.
Yeah.
Any input, ma'am?
Yeah, I mean the understanding that you are you give the animal, you know, a quality of life. So the fact that if you're doing what you can to make sure their life is good while you're caring for them while they're alive, then you know that they've had a good life, and you know that it's like a happy animal. You know, it's not an animal that's somewhere in like a
Factory farm?
factory farm being tortured, essentially, never seeing the sunlight or fresh air.
Yeah.
So you know it's a happy animal.
Where they're organic, free range because they have a door this big
Yeah.
in the chicken house with 100,000 chickens. It's so weird how they
Yeah.
do that. Anyway, yeah, so education is very important. Now, what I was talking about with this butchering video below, this is important. This is like getting into the realm of hands-on experience and actually doing something. So maybe you're not going to jump right in and do something hands-on, but wean yourself into the process. So it's through this education, you know, you begin to do observation. Watch videos. Watch videos, you know, they're not going to traumatize you. Mine will not traumatize you, I can assure you, because I warn you about everything. But you start to experience and...
you have an expectation of what you're going to see and potentially feel with your hands.
Yeah, I mean, in training, they would call this like stress inoculation. You start introducing the stressor until you're, you know, in a controlled manner, until you've built up a tolerance to that level of stress. You know, watching a dispatching video, for example, when you feel comfortable to do that. Okay, now you're more familiar with the process. It doesn't feel so bad. I'm seeing another human do this, and the human who's doing it is also compassionate and feels the same way I do about the animal, you see, so it's relatable. So you have a relationship to, even if you don't talk to the person in the video, that's relatable. We're the same person. He cares about him. He doesn't want to kill him, but he's doing it, and how, all right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I hope I'm not rambling for you guys, because this is a very big, important subject for people. It's a very intimate act.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then part of the understanding, I mentioned the quality of life for the animal, but just knowing that if you're processing an animal for meat, then you know obviously you're wanting to feed yourself or your family, and that means you're eating healthy meat that's not been riddled with antibiotics or chemicals or just like, you know, bad stuff.
Sure, that's a great motivation.
Yeah.
Hands-on stuff. After, like, if you've engaged in watching a video, I would recommend absolutely doing a hands-on participatory event. You know, maybe a class if you need to, or if you know somebody who processes little critters, to just have a sit-in with them one day and say, hey, do you mind if I watch what you do, how you do it?
Mm.
Again, to inoculate yourself, to introduce yourself to this stressor without having to participate in it through the physical act.
And it's possible you may not, maybe you want specific experience with quail, but perhaps it's difficult for you wherever you're at to find somebody. And we're heading into the season where a lot of people are going to be doing meat chickens. You know, so it's kind of there's similarities there, and that you can get. There's a lot of people who teach classes with chickens as well. So there's it's a bigger version.
Community outreach.
Yeah.
You know, this kind of video stuff is kind of a community. It's not like in the traditional sense back in the good old days before internet, but we still establish relationship with the people who come in and, you know, they watch videos like Susan who commented and Bill. Like, yeah, we're familiar with you guys. We know you're human beings. You have lives and,
Yeah.
you know, but there's other people who come in who may need this information and they feel kind of isolated and don't have anybody to talk to or anybody to express their concerns, right? That's just how we are. We don't really have much outlet, especially with this kind of stuff. You can begin to seek that out. You can find it through, you know, online, through people like us, or in your immediate community. I hope I pronounced that right.
No, that was fine.
Anyway, like reach out to these guys. Reach out to your neighbors, friends, other people who do this, and just talk to them about it. Like, hey, I'm thinking of starting to process my own quail. I really don't feel normal doing that. I've never done that before. And you know, let somebody talk to you about it and talk about your concerns and express them. All right? this all making sense? I'm rambling a lot, but I don't think I'm
No,
rambling.
no, it's fine. Yeah.
I don't want to talk too
Focus.
much. I want to get to the important points.
Mhm.
All right. So I was going to talk about seeking guidance and support, and that's sort of the same thing. You're going to have maybe even like a mentorship. And again, this sounds weird for people who do this all the time. It's like, why is he talking so much about just simply processing a quail? A lot of people, they don't understand. A lot of people are very, very apprehensive about doing this.
There's a lot of people who are new to pursuing, self-sufficiency, homesteading, like who have no experience, even with animals, or maybe have some experience, or maybe just like when they were, like you mentioned earlier, just childhood memories, like visiting family members who were processing animals on their farm.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of people who maybe if somebody in their family, immediate family, has experience, but it's just, it's a skill to learning to become familiar and comfortable with. So
overcoming mental blocks is a huge skill too.
Yeah.
And like, again, this is a mental block for a lot of people. And I've talked to a lot of people, like they're interested in doing that, but they just don't feel like they're able to, but wish they could overcome that hesitancy.
Yeah, a lot of people do say they want to start with doing the egg program, and then they hope to be able to go into the meat. So yeah.
Perfectly normal.
Yeah.
Especially now. And the other huge consideration are the cultural influences. Okay, this is the United States in 2024 now, I guess. We don't grow animals like cows and sheep. Well, most of the people. Some of us do. A lot of us in this community do. But for the majority of the United States, they're not used to growing living creatures and then slaughtering them to eat. They go and they fill up a plastic bag at the grocery store. That's that. And that's our culture. And that's okay. But there are cultural differences. And then you go into a farming community and that's all they've ever done.
Yeah.
Like even from when the little kids, like 3 or 4-year-olds, they're processing whole gigantic cows and pigs. They have them out there in the yard doing that. So it's a huge cultural influence and factor in all this too. If you don't come from that background, it's going to seem weird. We live in southern Pennsylvania, and everybody carries weapons on them, like guns and knives, and you're not like, oh my gosh, what's that guy doing? You're like, hey there, Jim, what's going, It's totally normal culture down here. Otherwise, you're walking around New York City with a machete on your back, and they're going to call the cops. Down here, they're assuming you're trail hiking. All right, so it's cultural differences, and it's the same with processing critters. Did you process critters when you were little?
No.
I should know this. We're married. I should have done this in the whole interview when we met.
I never did that. No.
No.
But my family, they're into the hunting of the deer. They did the deer hunting, and so I was around my dad when he would prep the deer after bringing it home, and even like with the meat, but like never while it was alive. That process.
Yeah, speaking of cultural variances, one of the fascinating things, and this is not a political statement, this is just a fact, we're very detached from the death process. The whole dying process. It's a taboo subject, we compartmentalize it, and it's not part of the life process, which it really is. We're born, we live, we die, it's just how it is. But I guess whatever the motivation is, perhaps it's a painful experience, so we kind of compartmentalize it and hide it and not think about it. But, there's a cycle. And to ignore a major, major component to that cycle, to me seems a little silly. It doesn't make much sense. It's a reality, and it should be acknowledged. I'm not celebrating things croak out, but we acknowledge that here's a reality, and I will be comfortable with this reality, not be happy about this reality. Like, you get bills in the mail, you're not happy about it, but you understand it's happening. But that part of our culture is removed. Oh, cool. Bill left me a message. I'm going to look on my computer over here because I can never really see much. Let's see. I grew up and have always lived around hunting and fishing and processing beef and pork. But I realize there are people that have not grown up around it, so it can be a difficult thing for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It is. We see that all the time, especially now there's a new like neo-farmer movement, like new people who've never done anything with critters are suddenly getting chickens and quail and bunny rabbits and other bigger animals.
Goats, yeah.
Yeah, so they're going to, and we hear it all the time. We're approaching the meat processing. I don't know how to do that. I'm kind of scared about doing it. I don't feel right. This sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they want to. So it's getting over these mental blocks. A couple other, and these are kind of like, I guess, approaches to train yourselves, and how I train myself to, comfortably go through processing of these critters and not have nightmares or feel bad about it or any of that residual stuff that might happen. Mindfulness, you guys may be familiar with that term. It's just being like cognizant, aware, having a dialogue with yourself and having an awareness. So mindfulness of the animal's life, its purpose, the humanity that it's showing, it's being treated humanely, and that you understand that it's fulfilling a purpose, being aware. However you're discussing it with yourself. I'm not telling you how to interpret what this animal is, but being mindful as you interpret it to yourself and having that conversation does make that process a little simpler.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm talking a lot. You got any good words? No.
No.
We sell silky chickens, but we don't eat them.
No.
They're very scrawny
They're
little
pets
critters.
that give you eggs once in a while.
All right, so we've gone over this stuff, and we went hands-on. We did Butcher Day with our friend down the road. He walked us through it. We're feeling comfortable now. Now we're going to go, I'm going to suggest, and there's a lot more stuff you can do, but I'm going to talk about emotional preparation, preparing emotionally, okay? Again, like Bill said, a lot of people have never done this. So this is a very emotional experience. Also because we're removed from death here, culturally speaking anyway. If you travel and go to third world or other countries, or not even third world, there's a lot of places that death is part of life. It comes down to treating the resource with respect and having the right mindset. For sure, Bill, 100%, man. Like, I'm a huge naturalist, like out in the woods and the wilds. And that respect, I think, comes with experience. The more you intimately involve yourself with whatever it is you're doing, the deeper you appreciate it. Guys who are in the woods a lot, you see everything. You see the moss, you see the bugs underneath the moss, and you begin to understand that this is a huge living organism, and you have a deep respect and understanding for it that people who don't do that may not.
Mm-hmm.
They may not have the same deep value for the
the
woods.
awareness of life.
It's the same with everything. I always like to say, and you can use this metaphor, I love it because it makes a lot of sense. Everybody loves music. Remember I say this. Everybody loves music, but the musician loves it in a much deeper way because he studies it and he's so familiar with it and he has an intimate connection to it. Whereas, Joe off the street, he listens to music and likes it. But the person more intimately intended with it, they have a different value and appreciation for it, which is much deeper. It's the same with anything and with these critters. Thank you, Bill. I mean, he could have said, I like ham sandwiches, and they'd go in for half an hour. Just kidding. I just talk too damn much. All right. So emotional preparation is quite important. Recognizing your feeling, your mindset at the time, and actually going through even a mock processing mentally to step you through that before the time. Because it's all about, like, all this really is stress inoculation and recognizing your mindset and adapting it. Because I always say this, we're not creatures of objective reality, we're subjective. It's the same in the seafood industry. My grandfather was a lobsterman, and I was married to a lobsterman. I lived on a lobster boat in the summer and participated in the clam bakes, and oh goodness gracious, I lost it, but participated in many clam bakes with the lobsters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the lobsters, I mean, all these animals, to me, like, I respect all the critters. They have value to me. I live in New Mexico now and had a lot of people tell me they can't get past hearing the lobsters scream. Yeah, that would kind of put you out.
Yeah.
I must be immune because I never had heard screams. I don't think I've ever heard a lobster scream. I've heard him cuss me
I
out.
thought it had to
Like-
do with like the pressure or something changing.
Oh,
in
okay.
the
Yeah,
shell.
in the shell, sure, gas buildup. They probably weren't screaming. But
Probably not.
she's probably right. You'll have to ask the old internet. Why does a lobster scream? It'll say gas buildup from the shell.
So with Christopher mentioning doing like a mock trial run kind of thing, she says, right? He with quail, with processing quail, for example, if you're using like strong shears to dispatch, you had mentioned that it's very similar to using like a skewer, like cutting a skewer. The what's it called? The shish kebab.
Yeah, shish kebab stick. It's about
sticks. Oh, we missed it.
Yeah, she said, and air being released from the
Yeah,
lobster. Sounds
yeah.
like he's screaming. Yeah, cutting
So-
through a shish kebab stick's about
Yeah.
similar tension.
So like, just intentionally taking a moment or two to cut pieces of a skewer stick, and then that I think would be really beneficial for somebody doing it for the first time.
Yeah, if you're processing quail for the first time, it's the first time you're doing a snip, they're going to react. They have a lot of electricity in their body and there's muscles. So it's perfectly fine. You may let go of one and it's going everywhere. So learn how to hold them tight. Watch a video, work with somebody, and go, oh, are you yawning in the middle?
Sorry,
of the-
excuse
Get
me.
out of here, putting this in. Walk,
I think I'm
watch a video, do a walkthrough with somebody and let them, so you understand like how these animals are going to react because you haven't really experienced it before. And I'm telling you, like after once or twice of practice, you've been introduced and you've crossed your threshold and it becomes a much simpler task at that point.
Yeah, but you were at the ritual and ceremony.
I love this one. Ritual
Yeah.
and ceremony. Have a ritual. I have a ritual. Okay? Like, I'm not lighting candles and dancing. I pray for the little creatures. I give thanks for them and I send them off to quail heaven. And I'm always like, I hope they're not watching the gates up there. Because you're like, oh, you. Okay, yeah, okay. Out of here. So I pray for the animals and give thanks for the creatures.
Yeah, I do
And
that
send
too.
them off to quail heaven.
When I have to dispatch any chicks that have an issue, I always pray and send them off to heaven. I didn't know that you did that too.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah.
Yes, send them off to quail heaven.
Mm-hmm.
So that's considered a ritual. But it depends. Like anybody's ritual might be different. Like something you're doing. A practice. Maybe you run around the yard. Or maybe you take deep breaths and sit down. Whatever it is. Whatever it is to
pet
like,
it or whatever.
But that for me, like I dispatch a lot of these quail, but I still do that each time. It's just part of the whole process, really. Is this all making sense?
Yeah.
You guys have any questions? Same here, along with thanks for giving their life for my sustenance. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's part of, I guess, the mental processing. Like you have an appreciation and you take the time to recognize it. And I pray for dinner, we give grace. I'm always like, well, we don't have to be eating today, so I'm thankful today that we eat. There's no rule stating that today's going to be comfortable and things are well, so we're blessed to have a comfortable day. I have to go on a religious tangent for you non-religious people, but, each day is nothing's guaranteed, so you're grateful for each day. And we're grateful that we have the things we have, and we're grateful for the things that we don't have, the sufferings that we are not experiencing, that we easily could have fallen into.
Yeah.
And so when I pray for the little quail, I understand his value in that way, for me. For you, it might be something different. Okay, interesting stuff. I think that will do it for like techniques or some like little mental
prep.
techniques. So I'm going to go over quickly some psychological principles. Not like Psych 101. I'm not going to be doing professorship level stuff. But I want to talk about cognitive dissonance, and that's really the issue. And you hear that a lot. I guess you hear it in a political kind of context.
Yeah.
Cognitive dissonance, which kind of sucks. So dissonance just means, like, dissonance has to do with, that word comes from I believe music, where two tones are not the same, la, 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 and you hear that vibrato because they're conflicting. That's the dissonance of the tone. And so when we're talking about cognitive dissonance, we're talking about our mental understanding is conflicting, with a reality, or our beliefs conflict with a reality. I don't believe it's right to kill a little quail, but I'm going to kill the little quail. Now that's a conflict. Okay, that's that whole cognitive dissonance thing. It happens all the time because we're subjective. We don't dwell in the world of objective reality, so we many times daily we may deal with conflicts of our belief or interpretations versus what we actually experience. And this is one of those things. I do too. Like I'm not joyful about, ending the creature's life. All right? But I still do. So why am I doing something that I guess to a degree I would be against? To a degree. I'm not against killing animal for food. It's, we do that.
Yeah.
But still there's a component of me that's still going to have a little bit of conflict with that. But the more major that conflict is, between your beliefs and your practice, the more difficult it is going to be to overcome that conflict. So you need to mitigate something or change something, and you can't change reality, but you can change perception or the belief if you wish to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That making sense? Yeah. I don't know. I don't have any feedback whether I'm making sense or not, so I asked her, am I making sense? But if I'm not making sense, let me know. I hope that holds reason for you guys. So in the context of croaking an animal for food, you may experience this cognitive dissonance. I'm reading what I wrote. If you hold belief about animal rights or don't consume, there's a lot of vegetarians. I don't eat meat. I'm betting you, I'd be willing to bet $1, the guy who refuses to eat meat probably wouldn't want to be a dispatcher or butcher, because the not eating meat probably has a lot to do with the sanctity of life that person holds for the creature.
Yeah.
Okay. I bet. Could be wrong. Okay. Desensitizing. Desensitizing too has a negative context because we think about it in our cultural relevancy, where we're desensitized to violence, or desensitized to something very negative that we shouldn't be. We should be repulsed by violence. We should be repulsed by, aberrant behaviors, but we get desensitized because we're saturated to it. Well, in this case, it can become a positive thing because we want to provide meat for our family. We don't like killing the little birds for food because we feel bad about it, but because we're saturated in this environment now where we're training, we're not so sensitive to it, and it doesn't upset us as much. We become desensitized. But I think in this capacity, it's a positive thing because you got over a hurdle.
Yeah, and then the stress, potential stress that you're experiencing is greatly reduced and, allows for a much smoother experience.
Yeah. A couple more things, because this is a shorter video, and I'm almost done, but I want to go over a couple things I guess that might be considered pretty important. Attachment. Attachment's a big one. And I was thinking about this when I was writing this stuff up. I'm like, what do I hear all the time? People treat these like pets, and pets are family members, and we don't need our family members. So the attachment issue, when somebody posits the creature like a family member, it's going to be very difficult.
This first covey are living in my mind as pet right now. I think that it's
a switch I need to make.
Yeah.
Well, it's something to consider. Like, I don't want to tell anybody what to do, but if it's your goal to start doing a meat program, you definitely don't want to think of the birds as intimate family
Don't name
members.
your birds off. I was about to say that.
Don't
name them. Yeah, if you plan on doing meat, then not naming them. Perhaps, if you really do want to enjoy them as a pet, then have a few in a different cage, and those are your pets, and give them attention and all that, and treats or whatever. But the ones that are going to end up being for meat, it's just better. You still give them a quality life, but to not get emotionally attached. So.
We have rabbits, and my pet rabbit is Sniffer the rabbit. And
but with rabbits, they're the breeders. Generally, it's easier for like a bigger animal that you keep the adults as the pets, and then the offspring are for food.
It sounds horrible, but it is what it is. My flock has a collective name. I say
morning poopers. That's a good one.
That's appropriate.
That is,
it's
yeah.
Kind of, like every morning. Oh my God, sorry, I'm so late. Oh, it's Kelly.
Hi,
Kelly.
Okay.
You're never late. Thanks for coming in. I really appreciate it. Like, you got a life up there, so it's not a big. We appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
We're actually almost finito. Been talking about this whole quail dispatching fun. So we talked about desensitization, and in this case, like, I mean, you really think about that too. So I like words. I like the etymology of words, like their root meaning, where they're coming from, Latin and all this. I'm not going to talk about this, but nice. We've been talking meat processing or muscovy. Yeah, both. Well, muscovy is just quail.
Hi, Kelly. Yeah. Yeah. This can apply to really any processing of whichever animal, but the majority is the quails that we're talking about with the description.
Yeah. Now, like I always say, let me get back because I lose my thought real quick.
Yeah.
ADHD brain. So my enjoyment of words, and what I find fascinating, is the way words are adopted in popular use, and they're kind of corrupted, like the word desensitize. I mean, it's an objective. There's an objective meaning to it. It just means you lose the sensitivity to whatever it is you're exposed to that precipitated the sensitivity. But it has a negative connotation, like I said earlier, because of the way we hear it all the time, referring to kids being desensitized to violence, or we're desensitized to all the foul internet stuff. But, understanding just language is important. Like, it's very important to understand language and how you use it. That's why I talk to you guys the way I try to talk. What is that, little birds? So, one of the things you're going to deal with, I guess, I mean, everybody does, is the know-it-all dude who's like, what do you mean you can't kill quail? Man, that's pretty pathetic. I've been doing that, and they have to interject their tough guy position. You hear that enough. And I don't want to get into the variable psychologies that go behind that. I mean, maybe somebody takes pride in their ability that they can do this one thing, and so it puts them above, so whatever.
But
people
that,
do
in a
this all the
way,
time.
is like a lack of understanding and sensitivity to others.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so somebody, you may deal with that or run into that, especially
just brush it off your shoulders. Don't let
on social media.
Stick.
Yeah, on the YouTube or I guess Facebook, more likely, you're gonna have people with their smart mouths saying, "Oh, you got to get over that." They don't know. I mean, that's childish.
Everybody is on their own journey.
Yeah, so it's kind of it's a little childish to. So you never know somebody else's mind and what they've been through. So to suggest just get over it. Yeah, it might be very, very simple for me, but it may be an extreme challenge for somebody else. We're all different. And we're all special that way. It's good. We're good that we're different. Yeah. If we were all perfect, think about this. If we were all perfect, we would all be identical by definition. So we need to be imperfect, and we need to have whatever it is makes us who we are. But don't let anybody, I'm saying being aggressive to them, don't invite negative commentary into your mind, allowing it to rest there. Somebody's going to give their opinion. They always do,
Yeah, you can feel right away. You can sense, something is negative. So don't think on it. Don't allow yourself to take that in and then sit there and contemplate. Just to get it out of your mind right away and replace it with something positive. Say a positive thought to keep yourself focused.
You'll get both extremes in both directions with people. Oh yeah, you're right,
Yeah,
Bill.
that is true. Yeah.
I know. There needs to be a new national normal law. When you're out in public, be normal. That's all you got to do. Okay? Or when you're on the internet, try to act normal to people. Yeah, but you do run into extremes.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but we've been desensitized to it. We know that happens now. We're used to it. We still get a little sensitive to some people, but eliminate yourself from the arena if that's what you're experiencing, like negative people. Find the good people, and find people, again, like I was saying in the beginning, in your local area or community who participate in animal husbandry, who may be walking you through this. My motto is you do you and let me alone. 100%.
Yeah.
I can't agree with that more.
Yeah. My breeder rabbits are named thus far. Just
Babies have
for
been
their
given
babies
away.
have given away. For sorry, we're reading on this tiny phone.
Breeder rabbits are named thus far. Their babies have been given away for others to butcher and eat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and that's okay. Yeah, I mean, our breeder rabbits are named and cuddled and appreciated as well.
Speaking of which, you know what? I'll bring this up because we're almost done. I was talking about language, the word butcher, which is what's going on. I've been saying like processing.
Yeah.
To be, sensitive people. People don't like the word butchering, maybe harsh to somebody. Killing is absolutely harsh. So we say processing. It's a sterilized version. But again, I want to be gentle, talking to people who have not done this before. But when somebody says butcher, they mean processing. It's kind of the same thing. Good point. Well, thanks, Susan. I mean, I like people to think. I never like to tell people what to do or what to think, because I believe that human beings, I always say this, are they have almost limitless potential, and they're thinking creatures, and people are very, very intelligent. So I don't tell people what to think or believe, but to use their inherent abilities to come to their own conclusions. And if there's a cognitive dissonance or if there's something that is problematic, seek outside assistance from an objective party. Qualified objective party. I guess that'll about wrap that up.
Yeah, did you have
Say something
else?
nice. I don't what?
Did you have anything else on your...
Blah, blah, blah. Not really. I just want to keep this kind of short.
Yeah.
Which it didn't, because it's 42 minutes. But,
yeah.
Oh, yes. Let me show you guys what I did today. I went to the printer's office. I'm collecting eggs to hatch for the next generation. Eggs and good meat. Awesome.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah, I don't know when we're doing meat again. It's been a little while. I guess our breeders will hatch up. I've been catching up on your videos. They're informative and entertaining. Oh, thanks, Wayne. Yeah, if you have a request for something, if you want to hear about something, just let us know. Stick it in the comments, and we'll probably do one. Because we do a lot of these teaching videos. We did them for like a year and a half on Facebook.
On the Facebook, yeah.
For a long time. Switched over to here, and it's slowly building. That's why I say to do the like and subscribe thing. I don't care about being popular. But there's a lot of people who value the live videos when we were doing them on Facebook because they could ask questions. I want to hear more on your Muscovy ducks. Oh, that's Kelly. Guess what she got? Muscovy ducks.
Muscovies, yeah.
That's their sound. But let me.
Well, ask questions because that's my department.
Yeah, we could do a Muscovy duck video. We could do a short. We could do a partial Muscovy, or no, we could do a whole Muscovy duck video. We could do a regular video for that. Toying with doing rabbits. They produce quickly. They make a lot of food.
And it's a lean meat that's not, it's a meat that you can enjoy.
They produce a lot of meat each one.
On with all sorts of dishes. It's a versatile meat.
I'll be honest. Nice. The worst thing is they're cute.
That is the worst thing.
That's the worst thing.
Yeah.
Some animals you just wish look like water bugs. Your life easier.
But they're quiet. And I always recommend for people who wanting to do, yes, we do have meat rabbits.
Yeah.
For people who want to be more self-sufficient and, feed themselves or their families, I always, say the quail is number one because they do meat and eggs and they're just so productive and quick. And then the rabbits would be the next one. And quail aren't cute, laugh out loud. They can be cute, but they all look very similar if you have one variety.
Yeah.
But rabbits are good to do. Well, I'd love to know how you raise the Muscovy. What's their environment?
Doghouse.
They're very
like a chicken house.
Yeah, they're
We have a chicken house. I built them a special duck house. Sorry.
It's similar to the chickens. Let's see. So because they're a duck variety, they're actually cousins of the ducks. Meaning they go to the bathroom, like, you know, a lot.
Ducks?
Thanks, and have a blessed night. Oh, thank you,
Oh,
Bill.
thanks,
You
Bill.
too.
We'll see you again. Take care and have a great evening.
The flooring of the housing should probably be a little different, but that's actually something we can get really into with a video.
Don't get her started on the ducks.
Yeah, there's just a lot I could say, and then we'll be here for a while.
They're waterfowl, and their digestive tract is designed for water organisms. What do you call that? Not algae, the other stuff, the seaweeds and the grasses and stuff.
Well, the Muscovies, they're great foragers.
Oh, yeah,
like
man.
they will forage
All day.
and look for bugs.
She knows.
And
She
they
has
will
a couple.
catch flies, and they eat, you know, vegetation, and
They're good for
all
the
sorts of
soil because they
things.
aerate the ground.
Yeah.
They dig up the
they
compaction.
don't necessarily need as much water. It's just a container of water for them to, you know.
Yeah.
They don't need like a pond.
But they're nice. The males get, God, 20 pounds. They get the size of a turkey. Maybe not that big.
Yeah. They're like twice the size of the hens.
12, 15 pounds. They get large.
They can get, you know,
Okay.
just under 20 pounds.
But what do we slaughter them at?
We process them at 13 weeks, and that's just because the meat is starting to get dark. If you age them out longer, the meat will get darker and darker in color, and it can change a little bit in flavor.
Hold on. If anybody's still watching and wondering what a Muscovy duck is, they're those weird-looking ducks with the mask, look like, what do you call it, like a growth. It's red, a chicken face.
Yeah.
And they're Brazilian waterfowl. They're not really technically ducks.
They have claws. They can fly.
They
can
roost.
literally fly.
They'll roost like a chicken. But the thing that's really magnificent about the Muscovies is they taste like cow meat. They taste like beef.
Like sirloin steak.
Like really good,
It's
really
lean
good
meat.
beef.
If you had a
We
slice
ate some
of
tonight.
the duck meat on a plate next to a sirloin steak, it looks the same. It's the same color, texture.
Yeah, you couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah,
The only difference is it's very lean,
yeah.
so there's no fat. You may want to add butter when you're cooking. Like when I sear it on cast iron, big hunk of butter to give it a little extra fat. And I'm of the school of thought that butter is perfectly good for you. Man, I eat nothing but fat. Okay. I think all that
But the butter
bull
that
crap.
we eat is
grass-fed
good
cow,
grass-fed,
but
yeah.
whatever. But that's off subject. But the Muscovy is a really phenomenal creature. You eat the legs. Like the legs are tiny. The drumsticks aren't big. They're smaller than a chicken, considering how huge these ducks are.
The legs.
But the majority of the meat comes out of these huge cuts of breast. It's just big steaks. These two giant steaks. Legs are smaller and they're tougher, I think, when you cook them. But we still eat them. Like I stick the legs in the pressure cooker and the meat falls right off and it's good. It doesn't taste like the steaks from the chest, from the breast cut. It's a little different, but it still has a beefy flavor. But
the bird alive, they're quiet.
Yeah,
they don't honk. They don't quack. They're just quiet.
It's not loud. They are.
They're just generally behavioral wise, they're easy to keep. And the adults, they can live, into their teens, so you can have them as pets, and then obviously the offspring would be what you would process. But
and
anyway.
What is their laying behavior? We're getting off subject.
They are broody. They'll lay an egg.
Do they do clutch eggs or like
They're
once
very
a day?
sweet. Yes, they're very sweet. If you have them on lights, just like any other poultry, giving them 14 to 18 hours of light continuously, mine wag their tails a lot. Yeah, they're very expressive.
Ducktail.
Yeah, I like them a lot. They're sweet. They're just really cool. They don't like run in fear from you. Like they're calm, lower energy than like other duck breeds. Anyway, but what was I saying?
They're egg behaviors.
If you have them on a light, then they're gonna lay an egg a day.
And they're large.
And they'll go for a long time.
They're about twice a chicken egg, maybe 75% larger than a chicken egg. Not
It's
quite
just
twice.
like a chicken in that the younger they are in their age, the egg will be a little smaller, and as they grow older, just like a year, once they go from 6 months to a year, the egg will get bigger, just like a chicken.
Yeah.
But if you don't have them with a light in the coop, then they tend to lay like 20 eggs, one a day. Essentially, they're making a clutch of eggs, and then they'll sit on those eggs, and with the objective of hatching them. So they are like just as good mothers as silkies are. Silky chickens, like they are awesome mothers. They'll take care of the babies, and so that's something people like to do as well. Is just let the moms do all the work. You don't really have to do much except like make sure they're in a safe area. There is a pond several hundred yards below my house, not on my property, so I figured no ducks. No ducks because...
No ducks allowed or no ducks because it's near your house? There's a pond several hundred yards below my house, not on my property, so I figured no ducks. Oh,
because
you don't want to get ducks
down?
because they'd be attracted? I mean...
The Muscovies, they're not as like water hungry as the other ones. Some of them like the water and some of them just don't really care.
Yeah, I mean, ours...
They just need it, to make sure they can submerge their face in so that to clear their nostrils out their airways. Some of them like to dunk their face in it, and then they'll splash the water onto their wings, and then they flap their wings around.
If you had a pond, yeah, the Muscovies would like it. Will they leave your property to go find a pond a couple hundred yards away? Probably not. If they escape, they might be down there.
It's just like a chicken. You would just clip the wing, clip the feathers on the wing to keep them grounded.
Yeah.
And you just do that once a year. But anyway.
Good. Thank you, Kelly.
Oh, yeah. So then they would stop laying eggs up to the 20th. Yeah. If you're taking the eggs away from them, then they're still going to, if they don't have a light in the coop, they're going to still lay an egg once a day. And if you're taking that egg from them, they're going to stop at about 20 eggs. And then they'll pull feathers and they'll lay, but it won't be for long. It'll just be like 2 or 3 days because they'll realize there's no eggs. And
I'm going to ask a duck question. So Angela, we just did a hatching video like 2 weeks ago. But we never talked about the Muscovy. What's the humidity percentage for the Muscovy eggs? Is it different than chicken?
It's the same. The difference is the length of time that they are incubated. So quail chicks, it's 18 days. 18 days. The chickens, it's 21 days. Muscovies, they're bigger, so they're about 32, 35 days. It's like, it's
double
35.
Quails.
I love this sidetrack.
Yeah.
I really like them.
Our friend Kelly talked about, she got Muscovy ducks, started talking about ducks. She's Feathered Connections. Check out her YouTube too. She's a very nice woman. So but she started talking about them, so now we're sidetracked on the Muscovy ducks.
I take the eggs. I incubate the eggs myself, and I don't let the mothers do it because I want them to continue laying eggs. I don't have a lot of hens because they lay a lot of eggs. So I take the eggs, I incubate them myself and hatch them, and also because the ducklings are so cute. Oh my gosh, they're so cute.
The ducklings don't have a hideous face mask yet.
Yeah, they look like other ducklings. Like they're just adorable. So I enjoy raising them.
Maybe I'll put a baby.
I love my new duckies, and yes, they do taste like steak.
Maybe I'll put a baby Muscovy video on here because I have footage from last year.
Yeah.
We hatched from last year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I have footage from last year where they'd all waddle down through the stream and beep, 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 and swim. And it was really cute. So yeah, Muscovies they're good homestead animals. Like they're really good, especially you don't have space for a cow. You don't want to put the money into a cow. That's a lot of... So the difference when you guys, you have no experience, when you're scaling up to larger animals, the bills get bigger. You got vet bills, you got housing bills, food bills, like a lot of things get more expensive. Of course, you get more production out of a cow. Yes, obviously, you're getting more meat. But again, you're going to need the resources for that. So, like these new homesteads or new farms or farmettes or even hobby animal endeavors, the Muscovy ducks satisfy that little niche. You can have, that's why she got it. So you can have steak.
Beef.
Steak without an actual cow.
Yeah.
And one duck steak, like a duck... The 2 giant steaks will serve 2 people pretty easily.
I lost my duck and goose egg source before I started quail. Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, if you really want them, there's always resources for them. But
yeah, there's usually springtime people like on the Craigslist or whatever you have in your area. That people tend to post the ducklings because the mothers, they're just such good moms. So then they'll hatch out a bunch of babies, and then people are suddenly like have a whole bunch of babies available. They taste like steak. I became allergic to beef, and the comment disappeared.
looking to add my duck flock this spring.
Yeah, they taste just like steak. Muscovy ducks fit perfectly into my city
limits. Yeah, because they don't allow.
Yeah, and they're quiet.
They're quiet. They're like
Yeah.
under the radar.
Yeah.
Yes, Susan, you may want to check. I'm not really sure what the protein or enzyme, what it is. I know about the beef allergy.
Yeah.
There's that tick bite. Have you heard about this? You get a tick
Yeah.
bite and you become allergic to beef. Not saying that was you, and I'm not talking about medical issues. But check on the line and see if the Muscovy meat would instigate that same reaction. I'm not quite sure. That's really interesting. I'm going to look into that because that's really good piece of information because I know people do have allergies. Yeah, so that's that with the Muscovies. I was trying to show you guys this earlier because I thought we were going to end 15 minutes ago. I just got something printed. It's actually down in the description. It's my little, I haven't printed this before. It's our quail chick, what do you call it?
Care sheet.
Yeah, care sheet. We give it to the customers when they get
Their babies.
baby chicks. And so, yeah, I always like doing these. And I like getting it from the printer because it looks like you did something, like real and professional. You know, you print it at home on a home printer, and it's just that crappy ink. But then we have the professionals down the street, and it's like, you know, glossy. So that's down in the description. If you guys have, like, questions. Down in the description, I have our pamphlet on quail care, 25 top questions that'll really get you started. Also, if you're getting chicks or hatching eggs, this guide for the chicks, which answers all the real questions for keeping them. And the thing I drew last year, hi guys, love from the Netherlands.
Oh,
hi. It's my cousin from the Netherlands, I guess.
So no graphic dispatching cartoons?
I did actually on this YouTube, we call it thumbnail.
Oh.
Like I did a little cartoon I drew for the thumbnail. It was the Italian chef with a plate full of quails.
Oh yeah, he did a video. I think I don't know if it's on the YouTube. Of he did potatoes, and he kind of
it's on this channel.
He put like a quail feather on the potato head and like googly eyes, and he just made it look like a cartoon quail, and then he like chopped.
Yeah, I was explaining why we call it why you should chill meat after processing an animal, or you don't just cook it. You either chill it or freeze it for enzymatic breakdown and like for the proteins. Anyway, that video is on there if you want to watch it. And the other thing that I was talking about that I have, I don't know if it's in the description. Come see our YouTube, or not YouTube, what do you call it? Facebook page, because I have all these resources. And I just put my kids' book I did last year. I want to add a couple more pages to it. But I did this for the kids. And it's on PDF on our Facebook, and I think on the previous video description. It's a little kid's book. I did all these little illustrations for the children, for families to download that and read through it so the kids can feel like they're participating in something for them, you know, age appropriate, so they can feel like they're taking part with the quail. And if people live near us, we give them a little booklet because when we sell quail. Otherwise, if you're all over the country, I'll just say download the PDF, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that just about does it. We're going to watch television as usual, but I'm not. I like reading books, so I'm back to my book reading. So I'm going to go read a book tonight. I think that'll do it. Thank you very much for coming in, my friends.
Yeah, and again, subscribe and like our channel if you're enjoying this.
Or badmouth us behind our back. That's fine too. People do that on the internet.
We look forward to hearing from you guys. Good night. Yes.
Oh, good night, Susan.
Love your downloads. Thank you.
Oh.
Yes, thank you guys.
Flyer Dad from the Netherlands. Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Use them. Share them if you like. Will do. You take care too. It's
Yeah.
what is it? It's like 9 o'clock here in
Oh,
where
yeah.
we live.
Yes, it's 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. here.
So it's probably a different time where you live. I'm not that bright.
All right.
All right, guys. I'm gonna click off on my phone. I'll see you.
Bye.